happy Monday in August, which is Black Business Month. So, yes, we are back for another episode. I guess I could call it an episode, right? Because we're doing this series. We have a very cool, very amazing serial entrepreneur. Cannot wait to hear what he is going to be sharing with us. It's going to be good, I can tell you all that. So I am going to just send out some invitations and invite some people to join our live. And yes, how is your Monday starting out? How is August going for you all? Have you been applying any of the business tips we've talked about the past 2 weeks with branding or with your relationships? The replays are all below. Let me see if I can find Delaney. The replays are all, did I say below? They're all posted on our page so you can watch and catch up if this is your first time joining us. Oh, there he is, I think. Oh, hey Delaney. Hey Sky. All right, Delaney, I'm going to invite you. Wait, hold on. Let's see. Why can't I invite you? Ah, there we go. And yeah, so all of the replays are being before this, and you can catch them. Hey, Delaney.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I'm doing well. Doing well.
I'm
How about you?
good. I'm doing well too. It's been a Monday. It's been really fast paced. I'm like, whew, okay, let me catch my breath.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way though.
No, I would not do it the other way. Can you imagine being bored on a Monday? That would be weird. It'd be really weird. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, I sent some invitations to people. If you want to send some invitations while I'm introducing you, I was going to read your bio, share it out with everyone so that they
Okay,
know a little bit about you, and then we'll get into a conversation. Sound good?
sweet. Sounds good.
All right, cool. Thank you. All right, so this evening, everyone, we have Delaney Wallace, and he is a two-time IPF World Champion powerlifter. He's also an entrepreneurial and a business strategist. He co-owns Mount Vernon Barbell and premier training facility, serving powerlifters, bodybuilders, and athletes of all levels. But he goes beyond fitness. He also runs Bedrock Infrastructure Solutions, which is an accounting and tax planning firm, which helps entrepreneurs scale and save strategically. He also leads Headstone Advisors, a business brokerage and M&A advisory firm where they help individuals buy and sell businesses from family-owned shops to larger acquisitions. Cool. So you're basically helping people scale. It sounds like maybe you can click
Absolutely,
on.
absolutely.
And then at the core of everything Delaney does, he has a mission, which is helping people build wealth, create freedom, and turn their vision into something that lasts. So yeah, welcome everyone. And yeah, that's you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So thank you for joining. So I want to hear from you how you make time for everything, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't have time for that. And myself included, sometimes I'm like, I don't have time. But you have, I think I counted 4 businesses that you're currently operating, or maybe
Yeah,
there's
something like
more.
that, and counting, and counting.
So
Um, I
yeah,
I think that the real answer to that is that I mean, one, I've just been blessed that I've been able to surround myself with a lot of great teammates, players, partners, coaches, et cetera. Insert kind of name there, where on each one of those verticals, I only do the things that I like to do or that I'm good at, and I don't necessarily
um,
worry about all the other things that I'm not might not be my area of expertise, my skill set. So and that allows me to, focus on the things that give me life that I can move quickly on, but stay away
yeah,
from the things that might drag down time. But then also, I mean, really outside of the gym that is more so connected to a personal hobby. everything that I do is still surrounded at the core of business growth strategy and all of that. So from tax planning to consulting to M&A and brokerage, it all comes back to the ethos of growing, scaling, and building businesses. So
Yeah.
although it seems like a lot of different moving parts, which there are, it
Yeah.
all comes back to the core of the same thing. And even you can argue that, owning a gym, it's just another piece of business that
Yeah.
um uh, that still comes back to the core there. So although there's a lot of different moving parts, it really all comes back to the same center, but also a lot of good partnerships that I have.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I do see the theme. So you like have something that's centering you, and then you're definitely delegating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But okay, so I'm just like curious. I just want to kind of like try to dig deep a little bit more. How how do you structure it though? Everything needs attention. Do you pay attention to everything every day, or do you delegate that out and like rotate through different days of the week? How does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm blessed enough that Mount Vernon Barbell, the gym piece, which is probably the biggest outlier, pretty much runs on a system. And so I've
Okay.
been pretty fortunate that really my main objective or my main job is to just bring eyes to it. So after work and everything's done, I'm at the gym, I'll post up, I'll make sure everybody's good there, and I'm more so the social kind of piece that pulls the glue
Okay.
together. And then my partners, Troy, Eddie, Chris, et cetera, they take care of a lot of the day-to-day things that otherwise would take up a ton of time, right? Outside of that, really from M&A to accounting, the business consulting, that side of the house,
Yeah.
really all of those things work in unison. Whether I am prospecting or helping somebody buy or sell a business, a laundromat, a gym, a hotel, whatever the case may be, that still comes back to the core of just overall growth and strategy, or
Hmm.
whether it's a strategy call on how we can take a business and go from 1 million to 10 million, et cetera. So really that all stays in the center. We have one day a week where it's just all admin work and teamwork and all internal
Okay.
meetings where we can kind of reset a bit. And then the rest is just broken up into prospecting, client meetings, and marketing and outreach, which still kind of falls under prospecting. So you kind of
Yeah.
just have those verticals and you kind of go from there.
Yeah. So basically, to set up your system, you figure out what your core verticals are, plus have a reset, and
Exactly.
you're good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I think especially as you continue to scale and grow and there's multiple irons in the fire, having having a day or some part of the week or some part of your day where you can just say, hey, this is where I just work on the business. This is where I work on the things that otherwise I would be pulled away by an email or whatever the case may be. That
Yeah.
allows you to kind of stay focused, stay centered, connect with all the key players in your team and say, okay, how do we continue to move all of these different projects forward
Yeah.
without, juggling and dropping a few balls there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good to have a team. And so not all teams are teams that work together though. So this is, I'm the whole point of this is Black Business Month, right? So I'm just
Absolutely.
like gonna fire questions to try to get data
Yeah.
to help people scale. So when you pick a team, right? And you're like really dealing with like multi-millions, right? How do you pick that team? Is there something you look for? I know at the beginning you said you kind of go with what you're good at, and then you pick team members to take care
Absolutely.
of
So, I
things
mean,
that aren't your skills. But
if we're talking internally or externally, the things that we
Mhm.
usually do, we utilize traction, right? So
Okay.
the EOS system and traction a lot, and it's really about finding the right person that's in the right seat, right? You might have the right person who's extremely hardworking. They have the energy, they have the skill set for a lot of different things, but maybe the seat or the role that you have them in is sucking life for them, or maybe that's not their area of expertise.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
maybe it's not that they're the wrong person for the team. Maybe they just need to shift from one spot to another and
Mm-hmm.
allow you to kind of scale and grow. And so we break everything into 90-day sprints. And then from those
Okay.
90-day sprints, hey, what are the monthly, weekly, and daily actions from each team member that
Yeah.
needs to occur for us to continue to push the ball down the field? And then once the quarter's up, we kind of reset. We say, okay, what did we get the tasks done that we needed to get done for that month? If not, then it rolls over to the next month. But if so, then we can check that off and move on to the next thing. So I think that you build the team around the goal and the vision. And so
Okay.
we typically push that all the way out to like the 10-year vision, that goal, that big audacious goal that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, that breaks down from year seven, year five, year one. And then once we have that year
Uh,
one picture that we need in order to push ourselves to year 10, then we break that down into the quarterly, monthly, and weekly goals there. And from
Yeah.
there, that's how you get your team members all in alignment, really.
Yeah, I was curious, and that makes so much sense. So you're picking your team based on the mission, not picking the mission based on your team, which I think
Exactly.
sometimes gets like can
Yeah,
get a little mixed up.
I
Yeah.
think we a lot of times we get that confused, and
Yeah.
we find a friend or a family member or somebody that we say, I love this person for whatever reason, and they might
Yeah.
not necessarily be the best business partner for us. One thing that my dad would always say, he more so talking about romantic relationships, but I think
Oh, yeah.
any relationship kind of folds into even business or to personal
Yeah.
whatever. It will if both of you are the same person or both of you do the same thing, then one of you guys aren't necessary, right? And a lot of
Oh,
times we put ourselves in
yeah.
positions where, hey, we connect with somebody that's exactly like us in business. And like
Yeah.
for me, example, I'm not the most organized person, right? So I
Okay.
need somebody that's going to pull me back and say, okay, hey, these are the SOPs. This is the structure that we need to use. And I could be a hired gun and assassin and just knock them off. But I'm not the person that's going to be behind the scenes saying, hey, this is the CRM system that we need to
Hmm.
use, and tinkering with all of that. I'm out, I'm networking, I'm getting in front of people, I'm doing the creative thinking. How can we create partnerships? How can we do things on that end? And so if I have another person that's exactly like me, we're going to drop balls
Yeah.
because the work isn't getting done, or there are key cogs in the wheel that
Yeah.
aren't being screwed in correctly. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you take that goal, that longer vision, and you slowly but surely bring that down to what needs to happen on a monthly, weekly, daily basis. And from there, you'll know what team members need to be in the right seats in order to allow it to push forward.
Yeah. Well, there's that saying, this is opposites attract.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's kind of what you're speaking, and that's how we started out this series. We had another entrepreneur, and we talked about relationships because it's, I think, very key to building your business. And if you don't have the right relationships, it could go sideways. Like
Absolutely.
it's not comfortable to pick someone who's not you, but that's what you have to do a lot of
Yeah, and
times.
I guess it's just a matter of perspective, right? I mean, I think that for me, it's very comfortable for me to pick somebody that's not like me because
Hmm.
I'm very much so, if I don't like to do it, I don't want to do it. And
Me
so
too.
my personal job is to find the quickest and fastest way for me to remove that task from my desk, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm always thinking or looking for somebody that can do the things that I'm not good at or I can't do, right?
Yeah.
So that I can just lean into the things that I'm very good at. And I think that everybody wins when you kind of bring that, perspective to it, and you push for that type of goal. I mean, you have the same person that could do the same thing, and you take it to a football team. There can only be one starting quarterback, right? So if you got a room full
Yeah.
of, 10 quarterbacks, like you might have the best quarterback room in the league, but you're not going anywhere because you need the O line, you need the defensive backs, you need the wide receivers, you need the running back. And so to have a good team, you need the different pieces that all fill in the right slots.
Yes, I love it. That was a really great analogy. Oh my gosh, can you imagine if everyone was trying to be a quarterback? And you have to get out of your own way, I think, in business, because you might not be the quarterback. I might not be the quarterback.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
funny, everybody wants to be the quarterback until things start to go
No.
wrong, right? Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and so
Uh,
so often we want all of the responsibility of being at the top, and sometimes we don't necessarily know what comes with it. Um, but yeah, I mean, there can only be one, but also if you're creating, and that's why we love the traction system so much. If you create the right systems around it, whether you're the CEO or not, if everybody's running around the same system, it's very just easy to see who's doing their job and who's not. And sometimes the person at the head might be dropping the
mm,
ball, and it's not a
yeah.
mechanism to throw shots or try to pull
Yeah.
somebody down. It's a mechanism to say, okay, well, if this is lagging, if this isn't working,
Yeah.
what do we need to adjust as a team or
Yeah.
individual in order to move it to the next step? And so I think that also going back to the ego thing that you were just talking about, it also comes down to, again, why we always start with the end in mind, right?
Yeah.
It's no longer personal if we all know that we're trying to row in the same direction. It's
Yes.
simply just what needs to change in order to get us there. And so yeah, that's why
Yeah.
we how we do it.
Yeah, it's not always personal. I think that's like a really good thing to remember. So I jotted down some notes that I wanted to chat with you about. So,
Absolutely.
okay, so you help people build wealth, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what this is all about, helping people as well. So is there like a wealth building tip? Like if you don't do this, that is there like something that's like absolutely imperative in your experience for building wealth through business that you must ensure that you put in place? And if you don't, everything else could like maybe fall apart or not just grow the way you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all a matter of perspective, right? If we're talking in its like most infancy stages, like you need income, you need money coming in.
Hmm.
You can have access to all the great investments in the world, but if
Yeah.
income isn't coming in, then that's the the key driver for everything. There really is no
Hmm.
opportunity. If we're looking at it from a sense of business and maybe we have income coming in, but we want to go to the next level, then
Yeah.
I would say that one thing that a lot of business owners get wrong, especially
Yeah.
as things are going good early on, is that we try to scale too fast or build out our team too fast. And so there's been countless times where there are entrepreneurs that they're doing great, they're doing half a million, a million, $2 million in sales first year, and then second year comes and all of a sudden the bottom line is negative. And it's not necessarily because the
Mm.
business wasn't generating the revenue that it needed to generate, it's because we started to overinflate the back end infrastructure that we needed, and we
Huh.
weren't as lean or as cautious or as meticulous about counting the dollars and the cents that were coming out, because we were so used to seeing the checks coming in. And so I would
Yeah.
say, making sure that that lifestyle creep, and I mean, that goes for individuals as well, right?
Yeah.
As we make more money, you know, we make more money, so you think you're able to save more, but also you
Yeah.
see your expenses go up. You go from the
Yeah.
2012 Toyota Corolla to the, BMW. You go from the to creep up on you. And so I think
Hmm.
also just understanding the difference between, or the variance between your income and the expenses that are coming out is probably key
Yeah.
at its most like infancy stage. That kind of
Yeah.
covers all the bases no matter where you come from. But other
Yeah.
than that, it's very hyper specific kind of to the individual or
Yeah.
the person. There's never like a one size fit all type of shoe or
Yeah.
one size fit all type of advice, besides like save and invest, right? But even that is so broad that, hey, do you invest in stocks? Do you invest in purchasing businesses? Do you invest in, self-development or growth? Do you invest in, gold or materials or minerals?
Yeah.
But yeah, in its most infancy stages, I'd say those
Yeah.
would probably be the two low-hanging fruits that you can kind of apply to everything.
Yeah, I feel like there's a temptation because people are like, so what are you up to? What did you do? There's like kind of sometimes like this pressure, especially at least in New York, New York City, where like you have to perform. So it's like, oh, I've got this income now, my first year of like 1 million, but now I need to have like the car and everything that reflects that. But the reality is that's wait, maybe a misstep, like not the best thing to
Yeah.
do.
So my old college football coach, Coach Rondo, he used to have this saying, and it goes, "Don't sacrifice what you want most for what you want right now."
Yeah.
Right. And so, and anytime somebody asks me a question, whether it has to do with athletics or like how can I, be a world champion powerlifter or get to the top, or whether it's business or whether it's whatever, a lot of times what I find is people don't necessarily want to be at the top. They want that feeling of what they think it feels like to be up there. And so
Uh,
a lot of times, like you'll run into a scenario in terms of like lifestyle creep, where it's like, oh, hey, I made $100,000 for the for the first time, and now I'm going to go get this car that maxes out my debt to
yeah.
income ratio. And so, although I'm making 100, and so I should be able to save more, I'm saving the same, if not less, solely because I've allowed this lifestyle creep to creep up because I wanted to look like I had money. But
Yeah.
when you pop under the hood, there's not that much in savings, there's not that much in investments, there's not necessarily a track to continue to grow and scale at it. And so
Hmm.
not sacrificing what we want most for what we want right now is probably the key thing there.
Yeah.
And I rather be the person that has the money in the bank
Yeah.
account than look like the person.
Me
And
too.
I think a lot of times we find ourselves in traps that, oh, hey, this vacation or this trip or this pair of shoes or this watch or this car. And yes, by all means enjoy, but I think that there has
Yeah.
to be some type of checks and balances between the two.
Yeah.
And uh I think it's all just a matter of perspective and the kind of circle that you're around, right? I think a lot of my circle,
Yeah.
like I'm pressured to want to continue to grow and scale and do more within my field and within business. And so I think that, those that are pressured a ton because like, hey, I made a little bit of money, so now I gotta go and buy the Rolex or buy the expensive
Mm,
watch. I think that's also just like a product of being around the wrong people that aren't necessarily tied to the
yeah.
goals. in which you've set for yourself. But then again, at the same time, a lot of times I also find a lot of people say that they want things that they don't truly want.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants to be a billionaire or a trillionaire. And the road that it takes to get there is a lot harder, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of more things that you need to give up, where I think that a lot of
Yeah.
people would be fine with having several hundred thousand or a couple $1 million in the bank account, and that's the lifestyle that they truly want, because they don't necessarily give up some of the other social
Yeah.
luxuries that they have. Because the higher that you want to climb to the top, whether it be athletics or whether it be business or whether it be anything, the more that you have to give up in order to receive that.
Yeah.
You don't just accidentally become
Mhm.
like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or whatever the case may be. There are tons and tons of sleepless nights and failed relationships and anxiety and whatever that comes with that a lot of people aren't willing to endure. And
Yeah.
so I think also people become depressed because we say that we want to buy a yacht, but we don't want to do the work to actually buy the yacht. So then when we
And
tell everybody
maintain
we're
the
going to buy a
lot.
yacht
But
and then we
yeah.
don't get it, now
Yeah.
we're a failure. And so now we feel upset because we failed, because it was never actually the goal that we had intended in the first place. And so
Yeah.
we have that imposter syndrome within ourselves of what
Yeah.
we actually want to accomplish and who we actually want to be, which is a whole different conversation, but I'm rambling now.
It's
So I'll
a
kind of leave it
whole
there.
nother, it's so fascinating. Yeah, we could really go down a rabbit hole because I think a lot of it has to do with our relationships with ourselves,
Mhm.
and being honest with that. Because yeah, the reality is, I mean, we like to say in America we can have everything, and I guess technically you can, but you have to sacrifice a lot to have everything.
Exactly.
Like everything comes with a sacrifice. You want a marriage to
Absolutely.
work, you have to sacrifice not having other people on the side. For example, you know what I'm saying? Like you want your
Yep.
business to work, you have to not cheat on your business or on yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Someone wrote something. I have to scroll back. I just want to make sure. Travis Smith said, quote from your football coach, gold. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Football
Shout out to Coach
coach.
Rondo.
And then Chams maybe says, how are you? And says, hello, Mr. Delaney.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thanks for tuning in.
Cool. Yes. Thank you everyone for joining us. So yeah, we could really go down a rabbit hole, but I think we have to have in business a really strong relationship with ourselves, like a very healthy, forgiving relationship with ourselves so that we can keep moving forward and not go into the depression when things fail. Because,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's
yeah,
also framing. I think it's framing. I think that we think that things are easier than they're going to be. And I'm guilty of that more often than not. And so anytime there's a roadblock or something that comes up, I just remind myself that, well, if you want more than what most people have, you have to be willing to sacrifice and give more. And so I
yeah,
just think that a lot of that just comes from an unrealistic expectation of the work that's required of us
yeah,
in order to reach the big, audacious goal that we have.
yeah. So, okay, so we both did TEDx talks on the same evening back at the end of last year.
Absolutely.
I wanted to kind of talk on that concept a little bit, and you kind of led into it.
Yeah.
And your talk was on taking risk is actually not risky.
Yes.
So I think that kind of ties in with this because in business there's a risk, but there's also risk when you don't do anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
So
mean, I mean,
yeah, you want
I
to
think
share a little?
the whole concept of that talk, was really when you strip the emotion from decisions, or you strip the emotions from anything that you're doing, and you just look at the math, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And I'll just use the investing one because I think it's
Okay.
very simple and very easy. And I think
Yeah.
that a lot of people can then relate to it and just like ChatGPT and do the math and you just see it, right? You can't, there's a saying that you can't save your way to retirement. There hasn't been a single
Yeah.
person, at least, in our lifetime, that has simply just had their job, put it in their savings account, and then retired and had an easy life, or
Right.
whatever retirement life that they wanted to have, because you have inflation, you have your money that's eroding. So simply just taking the money and shoving it underneath the floorboard isn't enough. You need some type of return to beat inflation, but also to increase the bottom dollar that you have so that you can
Hmm.
retire one day, right? And so the the risk is, hey, investing is risky. You can have,
Hmm.
earlier this year when Trump, announced the tariffs and market just tanked, right? You
Oh
can have
gosh.
those scenarios, right?
Yeah.
And there's risk. And so if you look at that one small snapshot and you're like, oh my
Hmm.
God, I lost money. This is risky. It's not
Yeah.
worth it. But if you zoom out and you look over the long haul, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, I don't think that there's ever been like a time in history over like a 30-year span or a 20-year span where the S&P has been down, right, globally over
Hmm.
that time period. There's been points in times where it's ebbed and flowed,
Right.
but over the long haul, it's always been up, right?
Yes.
And so if we use that as the example and we say, okay, well, hey, if investing is too risky, therefore I don't invest. That means I just
Mhm.
shove it under my floorboard and hope that I have enough.
Right.
And if you use that math, you are guaranteed to never have enough. Like no
Yeah.
matter what you do, you are guaranteed to never
Yeah.
have enough. And so I like to use that example because it's very kind of black and white and plain to see,
Uh-huh.
where taking risk is actually not risky because the other side to the coin is doing absolutely nothing at all, and doing absolutely nothing at all is just guaranteed failure. And so the
Yeah.
most practical thing to do is to take in a huge amount of risk, obviously calculated. I'm not saying like do
Right.
backflips, like you do
Don't jump out the
backflips off of
floor
skyscrapers
window.
with no parachute, but
Don't do that.
within reason, calculated is the only practical thing that somebody could do. And
Hmm.
so I definitely remind myself of that whenever I'm pushing towards like a larger goal or I'm doing something that I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not sure of the outcome. Where it's like, hey, if you want more, the only way to get more is to do more. And if
Hmm.
you want to stay exactly where you are, then that's perfectly fine. But you can't expect to take a step forward if we're not taking any action at all. And so I think we can take that discipline or that thought process and just put it across any type of discipline and understand that yes, there's risk to almost everything that we do. Like every time you
Yep.
step outside there's risk, every time you get in the car there's risk, but if you avoid coming outside, then what type of life did you live, right? You get nothing at all, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was the general concept of the talk, and just kind of trying to strip the emotion out of taking risk,
Hmm.
and take a more practical, straightforward, just math science type of approach to it to prove that really the only thing that makes sense in our lives is to actually take calculated risks.
Yeah. So I'm curious how I'm curious about curiosity. So there's been some research that has found that if you are curious, it's not really possible to be afraid because a lot of times when we're thinking about risk, we're afraid, we're fearful. So I'm curious in like the risks that you've taken over your life in business or personally, like how much of that was there like curiosity of you going like, I wonder how I could figure this out. How can I do this instead of saying like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. 'Cause, like how did that mindset go for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would disagree that if you're curious, you can't be afraid.
Well,
I
not
just
that,
think
but
that
you
if you're
mitigate it.
curious, you don't let the fear stop you from taking the next
Yeah.
step. I think that's like, at least how I would look at it. In terms of like myself, I'm probably one of the most curious people that you could meet. Like my mom and dad would always talk about how like every time they told me to do something or said something, I would always ask why, right? Like I felt like if
Yeah.
I understood why, I could reverse engineer and get to the bottom of things. And so I think with everything that I've ever done, there's been tons of risks, and I've definitely been afraid more often than not.
Hmm.
Um, but I think, fortunately and unfortunately, I think a very traumatic life experience that I had when I was young gave me a perspective that allowed me to, even when I was afraid or even when I thought that there was, too much risk in a certain situation, to take the leap anyway. And then again, going back, if I replay times in my lives where I'm like, yo, this was risky, that was risky, this was risky, even if it didn't play out the way I wanted to, or even if I lost in the way that I had first intended for it to
Uh-huh.
go through, I find that on the back end, something better and greater happened. And it's just
Yeah.
data that I can use to then deploy to something else. And so, the experience was really, I know that we've spoken about it before, the accident that I was in, and I was in a coma for a week, right? And they
Yeah.
doctor said I was supposed to die, 1% chance to live, the whole 9 yards. And so whenever I'm met with an experience or a challenge that I deem is extremely risky. I don't know like how I'm going to get out of it. I always go back to that, and I'm just saying, well, hey, I've been through an experience where statistically speaking, I had less than 1% chance
Yeah.
to win, right? In some way, somehow I won. So
Yeah.
as long as I'm above 1% chance, the odds are still in my favor,
Yeah.
right? And so when you frame it that way, things
Yeah.
become a little bit less fearful.
Hmm.
Um, and I think I'm an optimist by nature, which is a dangerous
Okay.
thing, which is extremely dangerous because
It can
I
be.
will 100% walk myself into a situation that I probably should not be in because I'm willing to take more risk than the average person. Because
Hmm.
I just have this undying belief that even if I like walked in a spot where I probably shouldn't be, that I just have this ability to get out or re-maneuver and reshuffle the deck in a way that goes in my favor. Um, and I'll do an example. Like me and my girlfriend were having a conversation about something, and she was a little upset, and she was trying to figure out, you know, how to maneuver this specific thing. And and she wanted to kill me at the moment because like she kept on going. I said, okay, why this wouldn't work? Why this wouldn't work, why that wouldn't work. And my
Uh-oh.
response was, okay, but if it had to work, what would you do? Like if it just had to happen, like I get
Yeah.
it, I hear you, right? It's impossible. But if you had to do it, right? If it's life and death, like die,
Yeah.
right? How would you do it? And that was just my response, repeatedly. And then there's always a way. There's always a way. There's always a way. And then eventually, as we were having the conversation and she was talking through things, I hung up. I was like, babe, I got to call you back. I hung up the phone, made a couple phone calls, and I called her back and I was like, I figured it out. Right.
Oh my
And
God.
it was like about maybe like an hour passed. And that's just how my brain works. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
like I get it. It's impossible. You can't do it. It can't be done. Okay, cool. Like that's the topic. Boom. But if you had to, right? Like just if we're in a movie
Yeah.
and you had to reverse engineer it, what has to be true in order to get there?
Yeah.
And I use that conversation as an example, just because that's how I live my life in so many different ways.
Mm.
Um, and I have found more often than not, and I've lost more times than I've probably won, but the times that you win typically outweigh the bad ones if you have the right stop losses, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, where there's probably virtually always a way if we just decide to kind of unlock our brain a little bit and just not necessarily conform to the one train of thought or the one track minded process that some people think there is. And so I
Yeah.
just believe that there's infinite solutions to problems.
Yeah.
And as you start to have different experiences, and this is why I say even the
Hmm.
bad experiences or the losses that happen, it's
Yeah.
just data that I can use that, okay, well, this didn't work here, but that worked there. And this is kind of similar. So if I just tweak this and move the concept over, can this work? And then you're like, oh, well, it can actually work. So then what needs to be true in order to get the right people or the right pieces in place in order to
Hmm.
push this over? And then all of a sudden you end up with scenarios and situations where you didn't even imagine. And so
Mm.
if I say if there's one thing that I do well, I do well connecting dots that otherwise most people would not think are possible or wouldn't think about. And I think it's just
Yeah.
also because I'm just overly optimistic to the death of me, right? It's going to catch up to me at some point in time, but until then I'm
Oh
just going to
gosh, we're
ride the
not saying
wave,
that. No.
right? Because
That was
every
kind of
dog has their day. We all have
negative.
our moment. But more often than not, I find that there's really always a solution. We just have to sit
Hmm.
down and think long enough and unlock our brain long enough and connect dots, not through the front door, right? Like my whole thought process is I try to never walk through the front door, um,
Hmm.
because that's where everybody's going through
It
anyway, right?
is. Yeah.
And
That's a
so
good
if
point.
everybody's walking through the front door, I'm likely going to get the same result as everybody
Yeah.
else. But if there's a trap door in the bottom, or if there's a garage to go up to, or there's a back door, if there's underground railroad or whatever, there's less traffic over there and there's less competition.
Yeah.
And so more often than not, that's where the gold is, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it. You just gave us so many. Okay. People need to watch the replay. Um, okay. I see some comments. I want to go back through. They were up a little farther, and then I see some more recent ones. Okay. Um, Nadine said, "You're welcome, guys." And then she said, "And you both did such a great job on the TEDx Stanford. That was so fun." Um, do do you something next challenge
Oh, they're talking
competitions?
about powerlifting. Asking
Yeah. Well, do
November
you have a
22nd.
challenge?
That's the
Huh?
next one.
When?
November 22nd. That's the next one. Austin,
Where?
Texas.
Oh, Austin. Okay.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right. Write it down if you guys want to see him compete. Austin, Texas, November 22nd, right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought there was another. Oh, Travis Smith said, gotta risk it to get the biscuit. Oh my gosh. I love it. It's like Dr. Seuss, but it's so
Absolutely.
true. You do. And I think, like you were saying at the very, very beginning of our conversation with perspective,
Hmm.
that's perspective. Like, okay, like where's the trap door? Where's the garage door? Where's the other way to do it? Or like, if I had to make this work, if it had to work, like, what would I do?
Yeah.
It's perspective. So okay. Well, I think there's one other question that I'd wanted to ask you. Oh, yes, vision. That's what it was. You said in your bio you help people turn their vision into something that lasts. But what if your vision's cloudy for whatever reason? Heartbreak, whether it's like from a business perspective or like sometimes our personal lives come over into our professional lives. Like what do you do when your vision gets cloudy? Or maybe your vision's never been cloudy before. I don't know.
Yeah. No. I mean, I mean, that's really the core of like almost everything that we do. So from like a business
Mhm.
consultative standpoint, my partner and I, Isaac, um, uh, the first meeting or two is simply just mapping out what that vision is, right? Because
Okay.
you you cannot steer a ship if you don't know where you're trying to go,
Yeah.
right? And so it's funny, when I was in high school, when I graduated high school, my high school made our parents, specifically, I think specifically our fathers, they made our fathers write us a letter going
Oh,
going from high school into like the real world, college and all that, right? Um,
cool.
and so my dad, he had this long list of, things and rules and everything that that I should live by. But the one that stuck out to me the most was choose who you want to be, or else the world will choose for you.
Yes.
Right. Um, and so I think a lot of times vision is cloudy only because we value other people's perspective or their thought or what we think
Mm,
the world likes over our
yeah.
own. And eventually, if you scroll through Instagram enough, and you like, if you're a girl and you scroll through Instagram enough, and everybody's saying that guys suck, right? Or if you're a guy and you're scrolling through it and everybody says girls suck. If you look at the news and they say the economy's bad, this, that, and the third, or you should be this, or you should be that, or if you didn't go to Harvard or this, and you internalize that again and again and again and
Yeah.
again, and you never take a moment to actually reflect on what you think about that information. We kind of just, I think that's also part of it. A lot of times we're afraid to go
Mhm.
against what the crowd
Yeah.
thinks or says, um
Yeah.
and we fail to like challenge or to question what other people are saying, depending on like where their like level of authority
Mhm.
is. Even if there's no authority, maybe they're just like popular or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so for me, I guess going back to the curiosity piece, me personally, I wouldn't say
Uh-huh.
my vision has ever been cloudy. It's changed. And so I guess during that shift, it might
Mm,
seem like it's a little cloudy.
yeah.
But that's more so that's nature, right? There at some point in time, it's
Yeah.
not always clear skies. It shifts and then something new emerges from it. And so for me, and for our clients, what we really push to is, I get it. You don't know exactly where you want your business to be. You don't know
Yeah.
exactly what X, Y, and Z, but like your perfect day, your perfect life, like what does it look like? Is it on the beach? Is it in Costa Rica? Is it, in New York? Did you move from here? Did you move from there? What does that look like? And eventually, as you nail down and you just ask why this, why that, why this, why that, da, 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 you'll slowly start to be able to put the pieces together,
Mm-hmm.
of the puzzle, right? And so you have three pieces of the puzzle in there. It doesn't really look like much. You add another piece that still doesn't look like much. But after you stack on another 30, 40, 50, 100, then you start to get a clearer picture. And so I think it just takes a little bit of time. I think it also just goes back to a lot of people say that they want things that they truly don't want,
Yeah.
right? And I'll use athletics as an example, just because I think that's easy for people
Easy.
to relate to athletics in comparison to business. Everybody wants to own a business, but I think athletics, whether we want to be an athlete or not, we've like probably watched a sport, whether it's foosball or football or softball or whatever.
Hmm.
And there's been countless times where there's been a kid that came up to me at the gym and they say, "Well, hey, like I want to be a world champion, like powerlifter." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Like, what are you doing like on your day to day? Like
Yeah.
this," where they ask me for my advice or whatever the case may be. And by the end of the conversation, more often than not, I end it with saying, "I'm not really sure if you actually want to be a world
Mm.
champion powerlifter. You might want to be good. You might want to
Hmm.
enjoy it. You might want to be able to have the Instagram post or the picture at the end, but you don't actually want to be that person." Because I could say there's been countless birthday parties, there's been countless events, there's been countless, things that I've missed. There's
Yeah.
been networking events where you pay $200 to get in and there's free food and I can't eat it because it's not a part of my
Yeah.
regimen. There's been times where, friends want to go out or like the family wants to whatever, and I can't miss a meal, I can't miss a session, I can't miss this. And so there's the higher that you want to climb, the more that is required of you. The tax that is required of you is greater. And I, again, going back to like the cloudy vision, I think that a lot of times we say that we want things that we truly don't want because it sounds cool, or we get that dopamine hit of saying that we want to do this, but we truly don't want it, right? Which is
Yeah.
a buddy of mine said something about, I think it's Navy SEALs. Like Navy SEALs, when you're in training, you're not allowed to say that you're a Navy SEAL or that you're in
Yeah.
training to be a Navy SEAL. Like there's something like that.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, and forgive me, I'm butchering the scientifical words behind it, but there's like some type of like psychological piece
Hmm.
where essentially people get almost the same amount of like a dopamine hit of saying that they want to do something or saying that they're going to accomplish a goal as they do accomplishing it. And so the more that you say, "Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to be the next Elon Musk or the next Grant Cardone or the next like insert famous entrepreneur. I'm going to be the next Beyonce. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that." You get that same dopamine hit and allows
Yeah.
you to feel like you're having action or like you're doing something. But at the end of the day, you haven't actually accomplished anything. And then what ends up happening, and this is why people get cloudy or depressed or whatever, is when you're by yourself and there's nobody to front or posture or like there's no editing, there's no AI editing when you're looking at
You
yourself in the
can't get
mirror,
away.
right? And you know the person that you are when is
Mhm.
behind closed doors. And that's why people get depressed because they've outwardly told the world that they're somebody that they're not, and so when they look in the mirror, they feel like a fraud. Their vision feels cloudy because they've told somebody or they told the world that they wanted to be something that they didn't want to be. And now they believe that they want to be that thing, although in their heart they don't. And they're not taking the action to actually get there. And now you're just in
Yeah.
purgatory. Right. Um, and so yeah, that's why I think like cloudy vision comes from. And
Yeah.
so that's why I always like I always end off a conversation like when coming back to like so people ask me about world champion, what do you have to do with it? I always say like, hey, like you don't have to want to be this, right? I
Yeah.
will tell you what this will take from you. Like there's a lot you will get from it, but it will
Yeah.
also take a lot at the same time.
Yeah.
And so if you're not willing to give this up for that, then you don't want it, and that's fine. Right? I'm not shaming
It's
you
fine.
for it,
Yeah. It's okay not to want
but
something.
be honest, not necessarily with me because I don't care. Like I'm going to go to bed whether you have a good day or not, right? But be honest with yourself for your own sake because that is what's going to kill you, right? And so I think that's kind of my answer to the whole cloudy vision type of thing.
Yeah.
Is take some time to actually sit down and reflect and understand what it is that you want and who you want to be, and it becomes a whole
Yeah.
lot easier.
Yeah, I think you said something super key that I think can really help people is it's okay to not want something. I think
Yeah.
we think it's, I think a lot of times there's so much pressure to perform and it comes from different places or to prove yourself that you think that you have to want it. Like if you don't want it, like there's something wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with you. Like, we are all unique, and so that means you have a different path. Everyone has a different path, and it's not supposed to look a certain way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So, oh my gosh, thank you for your time. I really appreciate all of these gems, and this is like really good mindset um, tips that you shared with us for, success. I see Dame Cozy drop some fire emojis. Thank you. Schneidine is sending you hugs. Court Williams says, "Talk that talk, big dog." I love it. Um, Iska Ray said hi, and Phila Me Fitness says, "My favorite person to listen to speak." Yeah, you're amazing.
Hey,
Thank you
Ben.
for all of this. So it seems like a lot of people know you and probably know how to contact you, but for those who don't, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, probably since everybody's here on Instagram, probably the easiest way is just connect with me on Instagram,
Mhm.
D Wallace, or Delaney Wallace without the first E, on Instagram. And, from a business standpoint, at Bedrock Infrastructure Solutions, so D Wallace at thebizinc.com, is my email there. And yeah, text, DM, phone call, email, all of which I'll be responsive to. And I'd love to connect and collaborate, or even if it's just something that's somebody needs or connection. One of
Yeah.
my things that I always pride myself in is I feel like I'm in like 1 or 2 degrees of separation from
Hmm.
anywhere that somebody needs. So if like, hey, you need a connection for this, it's always my pleasure to try to connect dots and connect people because I know it
Oh,
always comes back later on.
it always comes back. Yeah, it's good. It's like so fun to connect people. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's like a hobby.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. So thank you everyone for joining. Before we end, was there anything that we didn't talk about that you thought that people should know or any
No,
last
I mean I think we got a
words?
good like general overview
Yeah.
without getting too far into the weeds.
Without getting too far into the weeds. Yeah, I wanted to be able to support people who have like, and I think you did a perfect job. Like, you're just starting out, get that income coming in, you're going along and you've got the income, just scale with patience.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
have a plan,
Um,
reverse engineer, begin with the end in mind.
Game is reverse engineering. Yes, I love it. So thank you again. To not tomorrow. We're not coming back tomorrow. Next week is the last Monday in August, so we will be back for one more week, where we'll be chatting with another entrepreneur. So yay! And next week we're going to be talking about how to make money in an industry that does not often make a lot of money. So yeah.
Interesting.
It's
I'll
going
be
to be
there.
fun. So join us. Yes. Thank you again for your time, Delaney. And thank
Thank you
you,
for having me.
everyone. Yes. Thank you. Good night.
Mhm.